George Fury do it?
Whoa,
Oh,
locking
big
up
break
all the way down.
Percy. That'd cost him a little bit of time and certainly wouldn't do the tyres any good as they come out of Dandenong Road.
Oh, he's got a flat. He's got a flat.
Win Percy, has he got a flat tyre? It's not looking good. Went round that left-hander all right. He certainly locked up the brake in a very big way.
It looked a bit odd to me as it came round the corner there, but it's holding on all right.
Continues on past the pits. Win Percy, you can see the gap between he and George Fury as they come down the main straight. They're not all that far behind Dick Johnson, just going across your screen now, but he's out of contention, a couple of laps down in 5th place after 2 or 3 pit stops. There's 1.5 seconds between Win Percy and George Fury. They're coming up to the chicane now, around the right-hander, then into the left-hander, then up to 05 corner and onto the back straight once again. Does Win Percy have the power to hold George Fury off? We'll soon see as they head up the back straight once again. That's Percy in the bold black and white Holden Racing Team Commodore. There's the gap between the two of them as they head up the back straight. There's 7.5 laps to go. Can George Fury make up this distance? He seems to be able to do so at the top end of the S's and over the Dandenong Road corner, but he doesn't make up enough. And Percy may have a problem. He's locking up that front left-hand brake on more than one occasion each time he goes around the track. Into a lot of traffic he goes, weaving his way past some of the Corollas, gets a little bit balked through the tight right-hander, then into the left-hander, but he should have a reasonably clear run as he goes through the sweeper and onto the main straight once again.
That was the 2nd place Corolla that he went past then, car 33, and this time he's got a bit of a gap over the 3rd place Nissan, car number 3, and that looked as if it was again, he locked that inside wheel again, the puff of smoke came out behind, but the distances held to about the same. So obviously he didn't have a problem with the tyre. It looks just as if it might be the brake that's locking on the inside there. But I think it was the tyre distortion that tricked me into thinking that the front wheel was looking a bit odd. But he's still keeping on going with a good deal of power. And we go back to the leader. This is the Nissan Skyline of Mark Scaife. And Jimmy Richards, his co-driver, would be sitting back in the pits with arms, legs, knees, fingers, toes, everything's crossed.
There's the gap between 2nd and 3rd. And another big brake lock-up from Win Percy. He's doing this, as I said, on several occasions, particularly through the S's and down at that Dandenong Road corner that they're coming out of now. Does he have a problem with the brakes? Can it last the next 6 laps or so till the checkered flag comes down? Can he hold on to his 2nd position in front of Furious George, who's furiously trying to make up that distance between himself and Win Percy in the leading Holden Commodore?
Well, the only problem that Win Percy has, Ian, is if he keeps on doing that, he's going to completely flat spot that tyre, and he will have a blowout then, because it must be getting down to marginal levels. With 7 laps to go, he certainly couldn't afford to do that 7 times, because the tyre just wouldn't hold up to that sort of treatment.
Well, we wouldn't like to see a disintegrating front left-hand tyre on Win Percy's car, but it is possible because we've seen him now in the last 2 or 3 laps, and we'll see it in just a few seconds' time as he comes over the hill through the S's and into Dandenong Road corner. That's the man that's chasing him. That's George Fury.
So down through the corner, he's oops, and right up on the curb he goes, and look at the black mark he left on the curb that time. He really got it up on the curb that time as they come down to pass the BMW 635, going very slowly, and out onto the straight, past the pit counter they'll come. Win Percy in 16, still holding onto this 2nd place very grimly indeed. And the leader is not far behind them, actually, in almost putting a lap on them. That's the leader there, just coming onto the straight right now. That's Mark Scaife. An excellent drive by this young driver. And you can see that smoke trailing there as the Nissan went across in front. That was left by Win Percy yet again. So
obviously
here's our leader.
A problem with Win Percy's brakes.
And Mark Scaife comes through down to the chicane, up to 05 corner he comes, and out onto the back straight once again. There's our leader.
if this continues the way it's going, Tom, it's going to be 3 out of 4 Sandowns for Nissan. They won here in 86, again in 87. If they make it again in 89, 3 out of 4 is not a bad record for Nissan.
Oh,
this is the battle between
Fury
second and third.
Fury really close down into Dandenong Road. He's really pressuring. I mean, he can see when Percy's got a problem with the brakes. He can see the smoke as well as we can. And George knows that if he can keep the pressure on, well, something's got to break. And so long as it's not the Nissan, that's all he'd be concerned with. So this battle really is turning into a crackerjack finish for this race. And here's Fury right up behind. They're coming up behind Peter Brock. That was Peter Brock going across in front of your screen then. Here's Win Percy in 16. Still holding off to this tremendous pressure from George Fury in car number 3.
With 4 laps to go, up towards the chicane, Win Percy sliding a little as he comes out of the left-hander, knowing that he's got George Fury wanting second place, wanting to make it a 1-2 for Nissan Skylines. But Win Percy, the total professional, in what was a car that we wouldn't have expected to be in the top 2, let alone the top 5, let alone perhaps even the top 10, the Holden Commodore. Win Percy doing it well. His co-driver, Larry Perkins, also did it very well. As the car climbs over the top once again, let's have a look at that brake lock-up. Does it happen this time round? No, he's taking it a little bit easy.
But the difference was there that George Fury made up so much distance on him. So obviously when Percy was taking it easy, knew he had a problem. He couldn't afford to keep on locking that tyre up, and took it a little easier on brakes.
You could also almost see the whites in Win Percy's eyes then as he's looking in the rear vision mirror on every single chance that he has, just to see how close that George Fury is. Back to our race leader coming off the main straight, and he's got a nice comfortable buffer.
It's coming onto the main straight actually, and coming past the pit counter now.
It is indeed.
He's almost got another complete lap on the second and third cars, and that would make it 2 laps difference. So it's just that much short of 2 laps difference between first and second. There's Mark Scaife brings the Nissan Skyline through NGK corner up to the chicane and up to 05 corner, and settles down for the run into a lessening breeze now, up the back straight, up the hill, past the Motorcraft sign, past a slower car with no problem at all to the leader.
Aren't these Nissans just running superbly? Can't take it away from Larry Perkins and John Harvey, the way they've put the Holden racing team together. And there's our second and third place. Win Percy behind the wheel, co-driver Larry Perkins. Larry Perkins, of course, is the man that builds the engines for these cars. John Harvey, the team manager, had a lot of experience in long-distance racing himself, and also team managing. Team manager here today. A great pleasure it will be to see their car come across the line in second place. That's if the car right behind them at the moment, George Fury in the Nissan Skyline, can't get up and make it 1-2 for Nissan. They've got their other car, the number 2 car, out in the lead, the number 3 car, chasing Win Percy for that second place. Can he get past with 2 laps to go now, less than 2 laps to go, heading up to .05 corner? Win Percy is looking in his rear vision mirror. He can see the red bonnet of George Fury's car. Fury is a lot closer this time round. Is he making his charge as they head up underneath the Motorcraft scoreboard, up the back straight? Closer and closer does Fury get, but he's still not able to make that passing manoeuvre. Or does he? As he goes side by side, he's got the inside running. Win Percy is able to block him as they come down through the S's. And watch for the brake lock-up once again. He's got the pressure on from George Fury this time. Win Percy still with that second place. Got one of the slower Corollas just in front of them. Have a look at the pressure that George Fury is putting on him now. Can he duck down the inside on this corner? He gets the door slammed in his face once again. 2 very, very experienced drivers. There's the Nissan team manager, Freddie Gibson, looking a little bit worried. Will George Fury make a mistake, or will he get through it a second, or will he just sit back there in third? He's dropped back a little bit this time down the main straight. That's our race leader. That's the one that's really going to make Gibson happy this time round, because he's got about 2 laps on the rest of them. The last lap board is out for Mark Scaife. He's on his last lap, and there we see that battle still raging for second and third. Win Percy in second, George Fury in third. Can he make it 1-2 for Nissan? It doesn't look like it, but he's going to give it a damn good try on this last lap. Heading up the back straight, out of the little kick. They're on the back straight now, up the hill. He doesn't appear to be quite as close as he was last time round, and he's not going to make up the distance. So it looks like George Fury will have to be satisfied for third place, although they do have one more lap to go. There they come, the big brake lock-up once again from Win Percy. George Fury comes in closer. Yes, it certainly is the pressure showing on Win Percy. He knows that red bonnet is still there.
Oops.
He can see it in the rear vision mirror. Down the outside, that's not the way to go around the left-hander, but he might set himself up for the left-hander coming onto the main straight. Can he get in the slipstream and try it down the main straight? He certainly looks like he's going to have a go. Back to our race leader. He's got one, maybe two laps buffeting between himself. He could almost get out and push the car across the line.
Here he comes down to the checkered flag for Mark Scaife and Jim Richards. They cross the line, and Freddie Gibson can smile about that one.
What a fantastic effort for the young driver, 22 years of age this year. Mark Scaife took the car for 2/3 distance approximately. Jimmy Richards took it for the other 1/3 as our second and third cars head up the back straight, and it looks like Win Percy will come around and take the second place away from George Fury.
Now Freddie's smiling, and Jim's smiling as well. That's Jim Richards, the co-driver of the winning car, and Fred Gibson certainly can smile, but here's the leader coming back. We've still got the battle going on for second place, I can tell you, as the leader comes up and acknowledges the plaudits. Here's the battle for second as Win Percy brings it down the line. Now George Fury's got about one chance left to take it, and I don't think he's going to make it. He's going to have to settle for third. Oh, George goes through. No, he locks up the brake. They touch, and George Fury nearly had it.
An absolute difference on the last
he's going to take it to the line, and the Nissan team is smiling, clapping, because they knew George really tried that one. And a great second place to Win Percy, and for Commodores it's a great result.
The crowd go wild when they see a Commodore come across the line in second. They haven't seen that for quite some time. So it's first and third to Nissan Skyline, second to Commodore. Jim Richards and Mark Scaife, congratulations. They take out the inaugural 05 500 here at Sandown, with Win Percy and Larry Perkins in second place. Third to George Fury and Graham Bowkett. The winners of the 05 500 at Sandown, Jim Richards and Mark Scaife. The man that took the car 2/3 distance, Mark Scaife. You look a little bit warm coming out of the car.
Yeah, it was a long drive, and it's a fairly hard place only because it's very fast, and we had a drink bottle and things in the car, but it's still a long way, so it's a pretty hectic race.
Did your team actually tell you that you were in the lead towards the closing stages of the race?
No, Freddie told me just after the finish, but I think that's probably the best for a young guy. I might have made some mistakes.
Well, at 22, you must be very, very happy in getting to Sandown and even winning.
Yeah, it's very good for Nissan Motor Company. Our team, Freddie Gibson, and they've put a huge amount of effort in, and I'd like to thank Jimmy for doing such a great job in the early parts.
Well, Jim, you took the car on the early stages. You had a little bet before the race, but you weren't totally confident of winning.
Well, no, we were confident of winning in our own minds, but of course there's a lot of cars in front of us on the grid, so obviously you've got to have a little bit of luck. Our car went absolutely perfectly the whole race. I drove the first stint and handed over to Mark, and he was doing such a great job. We decided to leave him in the car after we changed the brake pads because he was just going fine, and he needs the practice.
A great job it was from Mark Scaife and Jim Richards, winners of the 05 500, the inaugural race, and a first and third for Nissan.